All right, so our last equation in our notes has distributive. First option for solving this is to actually distribute to start. So we're going to pass the 5 out to both terms. 5 times 3x is 15x minus 5 times 2 is 10. So 15x minus 10 equals 35. Now what do you notice? Once we distribute it, what does it look like, Simon?
Equation?
Yeah, it's like a two-step equation, which is what we were solving on Tuesday. So we're going to just solve this the same way you did everything on your homework. So the first thing we're going to get rid of here is the
10.
Yep, how do we get rid of a minus 10?
Adding 10.
Yep, we're going to add 10 to both sides here. And that's going to give us 15x equals 45. My variable is not isolated yet. It's not by itself. So how do I get rid of the 15 that's with it? Calvin?
Divide by 15.
Excellent. Divide both sides by 15. And I get x equals 3. Okay, so that is my first option for solving the distributive property, is to distribute. Now, if you have space maybe in the middle there, if you want to rewrite this and you can see what our other option is, again, after you see both ways, you decide which way makes more sense to you and which way you prefer, and you can solve them all that way. Okay, so our other option is when we started taking notes on two-step equations on Tuesday, what I told you is think in the back of your head, you're essentially going to want to do order of operations backwards, which means our last step is going to be backwards. Parentheses. So we're going to save the parentheses for last and get rid of anything outside of the parentheses first, which in this case is the 5. 5 is being multiplied by the parentheses. So what's the inverse or the opposite of multiplying? Yeah, we're going to divide both sides by 5. When we do that, on the right I have 7. 35 divided by 5 is 7. On the left, I have everything that was inside of the parentheses. And I'm just going to write it as 3x minus 2. I can drop the parentheses at this point because there's nothing outside of them. It's the whole equation is what's left. Now looking at that, 3x minus 2 equals 7. This is a two-step equation. What's the next term I'm going to get rid of, Lucas?
2.
So to get rid of a minus 2, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That gives me 3x equals 9. And my final step, divide by 3. And that gives me x equals 3, which is exactly what I got when I solved it the other way. Now again, if you look at this process, when you distribute first, so the one on the left, you probably notice that that seems a little bit shorter, okay? There's not quite as many steps there. Either one works, okay? So think about, did you prefer distributing and then solving, or dividing by what's outside the parentheses and then solving from there? You can solve them either way when they've got the distributive, okay? Questions on that? All right, we have 6 more equations to solve, and then we're going to do a formative. Those 6 are on the back of the homework that was due today, so flip to the back side. It says more practice on it. Looks like this. So up here in this top row, I've got an equation that doesn't look like one we've solved yet. So 10x divided by 3 equals 20. We said on Tuesday, get rid of what's farthest from the variable first. So which term, the 10 or the 3, am I going to get rid of first, Ella?
The 3.
Yeah, get rid of the divide by 3. What's the inverse or the opposite of dividing by 3, Cameron?
Multiplying by 3.
Multiplying by 3 on both sides. So that cancels those 3's out. The whole point of using inverse operations is to cancel those terms out. What do I have left on the left-hand side? 10x, very good. Equals 60. And my last step, good, Keeson, divide by 10. X equals 6. Go ahead and try that same process on the one directly to the right of it. 3b divided by 7 equals 9. Try that. I'll put the work up so you can check it when you're done trying. You are allowed to use calculators for any of this, so take one out if you need it. And I've got the answer up there when you're ready to check.
Just those 2?
Just those 2 for now. All right, questions on ones that look like that? Questions? Gotcha. All right, the bottom 4 then on this worksheet, what do you notice about these bottom 4? We see 2 different things, Elizabeth.
Parentheses.
So parentheses, be more specific. What property do we see?
Variables in parentheses.
Variables in parentheses. What property do we see, Hank?
Wait, for that, it's multiplication.
So what property do we see, Sammy? The distributive property. There it is. The middle 2 have the distributive property. So that's what we just did in your notes. You've got 2 different ways to solve it. Distributive, or get rid of what's outside of the parentheses first. And then the bottom row, what do you notice about the bottom row? We talked about these last class.
Combining like.
Yep, you're going to want to combine like terms first and then solve. Go ahead and try these 4 on your own. I'll stick some answers on the board for you to check when you're done. We'll take a couple minutes here to try these. I will put both ways of doing it for the middle row so that you can check both ways. Take a few minutes though. All right, whenever you finish, all 4 of them have answers up on the board. Okay, so you can check. I'll give you a couple minutes to keep working, and once you finish, check them and see if you have questions. Anybody have any questions? All right. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to do a formative that has 3 questions for solving equations. I just want to look at your work, make sure that your work looks good, your answers are, and your process looks good. When you are finished and you've checked in with me, I have a study guide up here by Justin. You'll pick the study guide up off the front counter from Justin, and you can start working on that at your seat. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left to get that started.